you put yourself out there on a show like that and you have zero control on how you're portrayed.
What did the voice make you out as? I forget.
Once I found out that H.E.R was the artist when I got to LA, I was like, oh, it makes sense why they chose this song. I get it. And then I started backtracking. I'm like, I was listening to her during the time that I wrote this. I've had a lot of rejection. And then I've also had people, not literally, but it felt like bowing down to me when I was just like, a 9-year-old girl where, they put you on this pedestal and you think it's reality.
Okay, before we get into the conversation though, is there anything that is off the table? Anything you don't want to talk about? Anything you've talked about too much? You're like, get this, I don't want to do it anymore.
No, I'm a talker. I'm pretty I'm an open book. So if there's something that just comes up and I'm like, I'll let you know, but
so there might be something.
I don't know. You might dig something
I don't
deep.
think I could dig that deep. I think Howard Stern probably could, but maybe not myself.
Don't limit yourself though.
This could be a straight Howard. I think Howard Stern is brilliant. It's a little bit too much here and there, but okay.
Yeah, little Oprah,
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Please remain seated.
Welcome everybody to the Rodriguez Project here at Mastermynd Media. Today I have a great friend of mine, one of the most talented, I'm going to get into this in a second, but one of the most talented people I've ever met. And honestly, you think about the most talented people in the world. I think most recently I've seen some people say Jamie Foxx, how versatile he is. But I really feel like based on your talent in all of these different facets is so high. I swear to God, it's so interesting and so exciting to see you grow and all the great things you do. So we'll dive into all that stuff. But Raquel Castro, everybody, is here on the Rodriguez Project. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. It's kind of like a little full circle moment.
Yeah. But blast from the past.
What an intro. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I don't think I've ever introed anybody on this high of a level, because you started off acting. Mm-hmm. Had an amazing career as a young actor. Most recently, a project that I wrote, and got to see how amazing you brought that to life. And then your singing career, your songwriting career, it's this much talent is unheard of, especially in a place like LA where a lot of people come and they want to I want to do this because the fame or the fortune, all this stuff. And you kill it in everything you do. So
thank you.
It comes from my heart.
I appreciate that, because I feel I'm very, I'm grateful for all of the gifts that I've been blessed with. Mm-hmm. And I have a love and passion for so many different things creatively. Yeah. And sometimes it almost works against you, because you're like, what do I do? Where do I put my energy? And it's really hard, because I never wanted to be boxed into one thing. But it's also helped me learn a lot about myself. And I feel like every chapter of my life, I've focused on different things. And now I'm, pretty much an adult, I would say. And I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. And I thought you think at this age you'll have a lot of things figured out. But having that many different passions has been crazy and inspiring and motivating.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a huge blessing, but it's hard to navigate based on the timing, because that's I spent my 20s trying a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. Because I moved out here, I was like, I'm an actor, give me 3 years. And then I was like, oh wait, there's music and there's acting and there's hosting and there's modeling. I'm like, oh, you can do anything out here, which is great. And this was me dipping my toes in. And then I got to recalibrate towards 30, and then it was like, okay, this is what I'm all in on. And even then, you see something like, oh, I can do that. And doing
you're
things.
Inspired out here. Yeah. And especially being in the LA energy, everyone's doing something creative. Dancers, writers, actors, singers, songwriters, models, everything. There's so many different fields. And when you're a creative person, naturally you just get creatively triggered when you meet certain people or you go into certain situations. So it's very easy to have your path just be a complete zigzag. Yeah.
And that's what I feel like a life worth living entails, though, especially it being at the very core a huge gift. So this is me from the outside looking in, but as you're cultivating these different talents, do you feel and obviously there's probably ups and downs and all of this, Are you aware of how talented you are?
You know, I'm working on it because I feel like you have this imposter syndrome and you have all of these insecurities that come along with being in the industry, especially for such a long time. I mean, I started at 4 years old. I'm 28 years old, and it's been my whole entire life. And I've had a lot of rejection. And then I've also had people, you know, not literally, but it felt like bowing down to me when I was just like, a 9-year-old girl where, you know, they put you on this pedestal and you think it's reality. And so it's a roller coaster, and that affects you mentally and emotionally and your self-conscious and your self-esteem. And that has been really hard because I feel it in my gut. Like, I know I'm my own worst enemy, and I will call myself out if like I hit a wrong note when I'm singing, or if I could have done a better take on my self-tape that I submitted, or whatever it is, or I could have written a better song.
We're our own worst critics. At a lot of
but
the
I'm learning that that's just the voices in our head, and that's not necessarily the reality.
And so, anyone else singing it's like, holy shit. Like,
And I'm like, you know what? Even recently, I started to like be very consistent with posting music things on Instagram, and I never did that, mostly out of fear and insecurity, and just to see like people commenting on it, and they like it. Like, not that I'm doing it for validation from anybody, but it's like you put yourself out there, and to see people really connect with it and enjoy it and appreciate it is so motivating. And so that's something that I'm like, you know what, get out of your head, because you're holding yourself back from so many different opportunities because of the stories that you tell yourself that are not real.
Absolutely.
So that was a long answer to your question. I do that a lot, so sorry. But
it's good.
I don't, you know, I think there's a balance of feeling confident in yourself, but always thinking that you could grow.
Yeah, there's always room for growth. So you would say that currently you're starting to understand, like, okay, this is beyond what maybe other people have. And that's not in like a cocky way.
Yeah,
it's
no
confident,
comparison.
but it's also like, these are amazing gifts, because it's one thing you see an actor, and I would even say it for myself, like starting off is acting, and acting is what I probably still would say I'm more talented as an actor than anything else I've ever done in my life. I also haven't had huge successes as an actor. This is just coming from like being in acting class with really great people, with a great coach, and understanding and like really formulating myself as an actor, which has helped my whole life by being more open and being a better person. But that's not something I'm doing all of the time. And then I'll do music, but like I'll do music and I have like my box that I live in within that. And I feel like, okay, you do acting, and then I see like your work, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like how did you, this is like in a day, like puts like an audition on tape and like crushes it and is like beyond, and then like does a song, and then like you wrote that and you can sing that well. It's it's literally crazy from the outside looking in.
Well, thank you.
But you're starting to understand that, like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, I can do this. And I feel like, especially in a world of like TikTok, you know, like there's so much opportunity for so many people in our world. And I think that's great. You know, I'll never shit on that. You know, I think that's something that's really powerful and changing a lot of people's lives. But I also think that it shows you that work ethic is really important, and talent is important, but not as important as work ethic and consistency. And that's something that opened my eyes, because I'm like, you know, again, not comparing yourself, but you see things out there that are popping off, and you look at it as a creative, and sometimes you're just like, it's not for me, but they're doing something really dope, and they're getting the right eyes on them, and they're changing their life because they're doing something about it. And
they're risking, unapologetically risking and putting something out there and seeing what happens.
Yeah. And there's something so beautiful in that. And that's why it's like, you know what? Stop taking yourself so seriously. Like, know that you're good at what you do. And there's a reason why God gave you that gift. And follow that. And don't let anybody else try and take you off that path that you have rooted deep inside of you. Because if you give up, you're 100% not making it.
You're out.
But if you keep going and you push yourself and you believe in yourself, you're opening up the doors and opportunities and chances that it's going to work out.
Yeah. Don't let anybody take you off that path, especially you.
Yeah. Don't be that one person. Like, and if there's so many other people that are rooting for you, but you're that one person that isn't, like, you need to believe in yourself first before anybody else is going to actually see the bigger picture. Yeah.
And that's interesting, because like it depends on who you're around and stuff too. Like not most recently, but like recently in my life, which is funny because my girlfriend Jai is producing this podcast.
Which is
but
so
like,
dope.
you know, dating someone that didn't necessarily like feed into making me understand how, not that you have to like fill me up with like, you know, being the strong, super successful, talented person, but like adding to like the belief, because being in this business, you do need a partner, or you need a group of people, or like your core 4 or 5 people to believe and make you understand who you really are. Kanye says something about like, if you're around people that make you like, something about, what is that exact quote? If you're around people that don't understand who you are, you'll forget who you are.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, that's not exactly what he said, but it was probably more brilliant. But but it's so true. And I had a point in my life, maybe at the peak of me rising, and then it got to a point where, because I didn't have the right people around me, most of the people were right, but one core person wasn't. And I started questioning myself, and I don't ever question myself. And you can fall in this business. You can't afford to have anybody around you like that. Yeah. So like, now do you feel like, you know, cause I know like with your boyfriend is in the music game as well. Do you feel like you have the right people around you that make you believe and understand that you are who you are?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I've never dated somebody in the same industry.
Oh, really?
As me, this is a first. And like, we were also friends for 4 years before we started dating. And that was, you know, that was really, really special too, because it just changes the dynamic of the relationship. And I just, you know, before being with him in a relationship, I found myself really, really just like disencouraged, like, and just very unsure about what I wanted to do with my life, and knowing of, you know, everything that I have done that far, you know, and up to then, but like not having that like push behind me. And when we started dating, because he is so like work first, you know, it has its pros and cons, but really the pro for me and being around him was that I was so motivated to like make something of myself. And so I was ready to just like quit the industry, and I was working in hospitality, and, you know, I still do that part-time. Just, you know, we got to pay bills. Like, there's so many different levels of this industry and so many different parts that nobody sees that you have to do to stay alive. But being with somebody that is in this industry, it's like, yeah, you're like each other's like shoulders, and you get it, and you can actually have a conversation with somebody and they listen and they understand on another level that somebody outside of the industry just and it's not even their fault, but they wouldn't understand because they haven't lived it.
All right, let's take a quick little break from the show to talk about our amazing sponsors, XYKO. XYKO.co is their website, and XYKO.go is their social media platforms. But we're so stoked about this partnership. This is their first product. It's this minimalistic design for their wallet. I've had several of these, but this design has been the easiest, like a little lighter flick, boom, right back in your pocket. Minimalistic, modernized, and just everywhere I go, people ask me where the hell I got this from, and it's XYKO, XYKO.co. But what does that mean? The underlying desire to go, to live your life, to make things happen, and that's exactly what we're about at Mastermynd. So we are so stoked to be working with them. So check them out, XYKO.co. Also, Ink Detroit. Ink Detroit make this hat. They make all of our merchandise. They do hats, they do t-shirts, they do hoodies, you name it, they do it. And they work in Detroit, but they ship to all over the nation as well. So please check them out, inkdetroit.com, and Ink Detroit on all social media platforms as well. So if you're a business or you're a brand and you need to get stuff made on a bunch of different kinds of clothing, check them out. They will take care of you, and let them know that Mastermynd sent you. Lastly, before we get back in the show, what do we do at Mastermynd? People see Mastermynd Media like, who the hell, what is this? Is this just a podcast studio? Partially, yes, we do podcasts here at Mastermynd. We're in Los Angeles. This is one of our newest ventures, but social media management, graphic design, logos, pitch decks, you name it. We do a digital production, interviews. Check us out on Mastermynd. That's MASTERMYND media.com. But if you're in Los Angeles and you're looking for a place to do podcasts, yes, we do that. And we're so stoked to be doing podcasts. There's so many cool people in Los Angeles, and the conversations that happen at this table it's been amazing. So if you're looking for somebody, you're looking for a partner to the digital world, look no further. Please give us a call. We'd love to help you out. That's mastermindmedia.com. And let's get back into the show.
This is the longest I've been living in LA since ever, really, because even when I moved here, when I met you when I was 18 years old, I had been out here for like a year and a half, and then I went back to New York for like a long time.
Yeah, I would hit you up, be like, hey, are you in LA right now? We have like a show. Like,
yeah, no, I'm wasting time in New York. But you know, I had to do that.
Well, at least it's New York and not like
yeah, like
Kansas.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was
like,
gonna say in the middle of nowhere. But no, like, you know, being out here, I've been out here for 2.5 years now, and especially entering the songwriting side of the industry, I've met so many amazing people and so many amazing like girls that I can call like my best friends, and I've never had that out here, and that's something that's really inspiring too. I have a great circle of friends that everyone's doing something creative, and when you're around that and you see people chasing dreams, that's what you want to do, because it's just, you are who you surround yourself with. It really is. You pick up that.
And Gigi,
my friend Kella, like we're Jordan, like all of us.
Jordan too.
We're like, and we do brunches, and honestly, the majority of us hanging out is not working. You know, we are all songwriters and in the industry, but we're really good friends, and we have a lot of fun together, and it's just the energy that kind of keeps me going too. I never had a really good friend group out here in LA, and that has changed everything too for me, where, you know, New York will always be home, but LA is a little more tolerable with people like that in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the weather.
And
well,
the weather.
Even though
you know
recently,
what? No, I can't even say that this year. I don't know. LA is playing with this weather.
Yeah, but like every day it's like, okay, the June gloom is, it's not even June yet, but we're like,
June gloom since January.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need sunshine. I need a tan. Damn, I need some vitamin D. But whatever. No,
it's coming.
I would say, I won't be negative Nancy. That's what the weather is doing to me. But no, the weather is phenomenal. And, you know, I just want to get to a point in my life where I can experience more of life out here.
Yeah. I'm a big, you know, at 37 now, I'm big finding my balance and realizing that I can't just work myself to death every day. And I'm like, oh, wait.
You got a good woman in your life?
huge component to, my lifestyle and understanding. Cause for me, it was like, I felt, not that I wasted my 20s, it was me tasting a lot of different things, but then I realized I needed to, I found out, this is a big Gary Vee component, and didn't you like go to his office or something, or meet Gary Vee, or you like?
Yeah, his team, I don't even know how, because I followed him on like Instagram for forever. I love his videos, they're so motivating, and I went up to the office in New York and I met him, and because he has a wine company, and obviously I love wine.
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Yeah, we never did our cheers.
We planned that.
I gotta do it with my right hand.
I think you guys need to do a cheers in the mics to get that little clink.
The little
clink.
Wait.
Here, we'll do it on your side.
Here, ready?
There it is.
There we go.
Is left hand bad luck?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm like overly superstitious. I need to stop.
I am sometimes
I'm like,
too.
no, we can't split the pole.
Yeah, mix that with my OCD, and I'm
like a freaking anxious mess.
So Gary Vee went and met the team, and Gary and everybody.
Yeah, they sent me some wine and stuff, and I don't have much of a relationship with him, but I just do, like, I followed him and I'm on his like little email list, and that's really cool. But what were you gonna say? Yeah,
so he's exactly 10 years older than I am to the date, right? November 14th.
Oh yes, and, we're Scorpios
yeah,
too.
You are, right?
I'm November 17th.
Yes, yeah.
I forgot.
So Gary Vee. So I did my whole thing where I sold everything I owned, went all in on this invention idea I had to help. You know, it was the first smartphone stand that accessed the touch screen for your smartphone, so you could push the button down on Snapchat and still play guitar and sing without holding the button down. And it was this whole moment in my life that shifted everything, because I was marked at waited tables, and then sometimes auditioned and went out to the club all the time. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have something brilliant. And then, but through that journey of selling everything I own and going all in on this project, I discovered Gary Vee's content in 2016, maybe something like that. And through that, amongst so many other things that I learned, and didn't even realize that his birthday was the same as mine until years later. I realized how much hard work it actually takes to succeed in something. So but also if you look at his data or his whole message, it's like also try a bunch of different things to see what you love. And I love so many different things, but the core element to all of that was creative and business. And I think there's a super like exciting thing about business that it is creative. That's why I love like building businesses now and all this stuff. So once I learned how much hard work it actually took, then I could dive into something. And even when I did that and that business didn't work, but now I had this newfound understanding and I was able to grow mentally to then start the new chapter of my life.
Yeah.
But that was like 32 years old. This is like, you know, or 30, 32. So this has been 7 years of like really grinding. But then a new chapter is born and you're like, you can't do that forever.
Yeah.
It's necessary. You have to sacrifice something, and try not to sacrifice your health, you know, but you have to sacrifice your time and effort and put it into something. But eventually you need a woman to come in your life and say, hey bro, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And like the consistency of it is key, because it's like you work that motor, and like, it's like something eventually is going to happen. You know, you just got to keep that engine running, and you're going to find that side road that you're like, wait a second, this could be a really, really cool scenic route that I didn't even know existed, and let me see where this takes me. And
you're proactive enough to actually find it versus being like, you know what, one day I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna do one day.
Yeah,
you just do that
talking
until
about
forever.
it, waiting for it to come, and it's just like, no, go out there and do things that feel right, that you feel called to do. Because I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason.
Facts, yeah.
People come into your life for certain reasons and at different times, and like teach you certain lessons, and it's all connected. And so to not think that way, it's like you got to take everything as that sign, and trust your intuition, and just move, you know, with what your body is telling you.
Absolutely. And would you say, so like you mentioned like growing up as a child actor and having so much success and being in you know, in the game starting at age 4, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Even till like 14, I couldn't even talk. Like, were you like an advanced child? Like I looking at videos and seeing like you in Jersey Girl was one of your big hits back then. Were you like, could you tell you're advanced, or looking back at it, was it like you above everybody else in your category?
I mean, I was like a little old woman.
Yeah.
Now looking back on it, it's very weird, because ironically, not to get too far off track, but I manage a little girl. She just turned 8 years old, and I started managing her when she was 6. I randomly met her at a nail salon out here in Los Angeles, like a month after I had moved back after COVID. And rewind forever ago, I was at a nail salon with my mother when I was 4 years old, and some woman came up to me and my mom and my little brother and was like, you have to put your kids in the industry. And that's how I got my first manager's number, was at a nail salon in New York, in Long Island. And I just started, so
No coincidences.
No coincidences. It was very weird. I wasn't even supposed to be at that nail salon. I made an appointment for somewhere else. I ended up not liking the vibe of that place, so I went to a different place in Burbank. And here I have this little girl coming up to me, and I had my dog who passed away, but her name was Karma at the time. And she comes up to me and loves my dog, and like just makes like little jokes with me. And I'm like, this kid is special. But could
you identify kind of something that you could feel in yourself from the past? Like, was there something like that connected that way?
Yeah, there was something about her where I was just like, I don't know, there's a weird energy, and I never would do this. I don't want to be the person like, you should put your kids in the industry, because I'm just like, you know, for some reason I was against that for a long time, but I said something to her mom, and her mom was totally into it, and we had met and over coffee.
Was she in the entertainment industry at all, or
no,
any thoughts or anything like that?
But she's like, people have come up to me and asked me. I just never knew how to get into it, and then you meet a lot of crazy people and all of this thing, you know, all of that.
Did they know who you were when you talked to them?
No, and I didn't say anything. I was like, let's just give me your email, and then I just sent her like a little email, and I gave her, you know, like some links and a little backstory, and then we met for coffee and kind of filter in more then. And
like, if anybody knows the ropes as well as they need to, it's like, I got it. I got you.
and this, I mean, and like, you know what? I was confident about that. It was the first time when I felt really confident, because I'm like, you know what? I've experienced so many things as a kid in this industry that I trust myself with her, because she has something special. And if I can do something to help her or change her life in the ways that my life was changed, but also have somebody looking over her, guiding her, and making sure that she's not getting treated in certain ways, and she's, you know, she's safe. I will feel happy and confident in that, and proud not only of myself, but to watch somebody blossom. And the reason why I bring that up is because, like, seeing her and being an adult looking at a 6, 7, 8-year-old, I'm like, I can't believe I did a film with Jennifer Lopez
That's
and
wild.
Ben Affleck when I was 6 going on 7, and I'm like,
held your own easily. Like, it was like,
it was a weird moment, because I'm like, I was a baby, like she's a baby, and I was, and like, But I was a little old woman, and I miss that little girl. You know, she's in me still, obviously, but sometimes I forget about that because it feels like a lifetime ago. It was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, you go through so many things after experiencing that level of I don't want to call it fame, but kind of, you know, when I was on Ellen DeGeneres and Jay Leno and Ryan Seacrest, and I went to Japan and London first class, like they changed my life. They changed my world. And that was, you know, a huge turning point in my life. But it's crazy.
Yeah. What would you tell? So managing this girl coming into the game, what are some of the key elements that you would would be part of the, just managing to ensure that she has a strong career, not even just success, but also just to ensure that healthy mental state as well going through it?
Yeah. You know what? I spent a lot of time the first year really developing her, and we actually got her signed with an agent very, very quickly, and she started to go out on a lot of auditions. And so the first year I spent a lot of time like doing all of her self tapes with her, and just really nurturing what she already had, because she just had this natural little fire to her.
You don't want to dim that. You want to keep that.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, put them in acting class, and I'm like, you know, that's great, and I'm not against that, but there was just something so special about her that I just wanted to nurture it and almost train her in a way where, you know, this is work time and we're doing this, but we're going to have fun while we do it too. And having that balance, and also just talking to her and understanding her emotions. You know, she's a very empathetic 8-year-old. She has a lot of feelings. She's very mature. And that was something that was so special about her. She's not just
that's why she's probably great at acting or has a personality. Yeah.
And even like trying to get her, you know, we've had even like some like little TV show things that she's gone on auditions for where she had to bring up emotions. And I had to teach her about that, where, you know, you're putting yourself in this place, and that's not real. It's not real, but you almost take feelings that you felt before when you felt sad, and you're pushing it out. And then like we were doing the tape, and then after we were done, she was like, I don't know why, but I feel sad. And I don't like think I'm sad, but my body feels sad. I just want to cry. I was like, you have to understand, this is your nervous system that you're going through right now. You just thought of all of these sad things, and you gave me a beautiful performance here, but your body doesn't know the difference between fake and acting and real emotions. And so it's okay. You're going to be fine, you know, like, because I don't want to see a 7-year-old cry, but if, you know, if we're developing her to do things like that, I want her to know that it's okay and it's a safe place, and that she could, you know, normalize her emotions and feel through it, where she doesn't have to feel so intense all of the time. And we would do like little hang dates and stuff like that. I got very close with her parents, and she loves my dog. She comes over, and she, you know, it's I tried to make it as fun as possible in an industry that sometimes isn't that fun. Sometimes it's like hard deadlines and last minute auditions and rush and hurry up and wait. So you know, I just tried to work with her and just be very, very hands-on as much as I could.
Yeah. There's something about, like, I remember even as we talked about the project before that I wrote, and we had this girl audition for the project, and it was the night before, and the audition was 3 different sides that were like initially meeting her to be like this nice sweet girl, a second one about her crying and trying to keep everybody around her, and then the third one of her like having this demonic stage. And it was like, you know, so very versatile, like where you as an adult, it feels like I need some time, right? But it was undeniable the next day, and I was like, oh my goodness, like how did she even execute this? But would you say there's something of like from a child actor that doesn't have all of the you know the knowings of society putting different things on you, or, you know, it's still very playful? Is there something about that of like a child isn't exposed to the whole world enough to have all like these other voices in their head? Is that what you like? Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's something, you know, that makes me miss the 7-year-old that I was in Jersey Girl, because you don't have those outside voices. You don't have the self-doubt in you. You think you can do whatever you want in life. Your imagination is endless. And that's something like watching her, you know, she is so confident in herself, and she can do things that like just on the snap, you know, in the snap of a finger. And I think that's something that like being so young and naive to like the evils of the world and all of those like really, really, high highs and low lows. Like, you can act from a place that's just honest and unfiltered. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because as adults now, we've gone through so many things that we have the idea of like, well, what is this person going to think? And what is that person going to think? And what is my mother going to say? And what is my grandmother going to think about this? And we have so many other opinions besides, everyone's but our own stuck in our heads, stopping us from doing things.
If I book this, my life changes. Like
whatever. It's like you freak out about even good things at this point, because you're like, I don't know, am I ready for it? Like, and you spend so much time waiting that, like, when you're that close, it's like, it's scary. But with kids, like, they're just living their life. Like, they don't, you do an audition, you leave, you don't think about it, and that's it. And that's how I want it to keep it for her, because as an adult, you do auditions now and you're holding on to that, and you're like, this is the one, or this could be the one. And, we put so much pressure on ourselves instead of just allowing our lives and our journeys to just flow the way they're supposed to. And I think that's something that kids, it's a very special gift, that being young, you miss that version of yourself because you just lived for you and in the moment, and whatever you felt came out.
Absolutely. Yeah. How has your process changed as an actor now? Like, what is your process? Or like, are you, when you're guiding her and saying, these are emotions that you're feeling and you're using stuff from your life, is that literally how your process is? Or is that kind of like some kind of process you've catered based on who she is and to understand that? Or like, what's the difference between that and your process now? Or is it the same?
A little bit of both. I think, now being much older in the industry, for a long time, for myself, I had like put acting on the side for years because I, after Jersey Girl, I spent, I started at 6, I was filming, and the majority of my, pretty much all 7 years old. And then it came out when I was 9, and then in the US.
Really?
And then it came out in Japan and London. So I was doing press for that film for like 2.5
She's like, I'm
3
still
years.
doing press on it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to New Jersey next week to actually promote the re-release of Jersey Girl. We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there.
Which is a full circle moment again. But yeah, I think that I went through so much after Jersey Girl, and you go from being young and feeling like everyone is just a fan of you, and you can't lose, and people care, and then that just stops out of nowhere. And I had a really, really hard time as a kid understanding that, because, you go on set and you're like, you have a family there. And then all of a sudden you don't talk to those people anymore. And then you go on auditions, and like, you go from getting scripts sent to you to like, you go on auditions, you don't hear anything. And I went through that at such a young age that it affected me so personally. And I went through so much rejection, where I remember like being angry at some point. Like I would say I was 13, 14 years old, and I'm like, I don't want to do this to my mom. Like, I don't want to go to the city. I don't want to go on an audition. They're just going to say no. I don't want to do this anymore. And it makes me so sad to think about that, because you put so much of your self-worth in the opinions of other people, and the time that you get from other people, and the attention that you get from other people, and it affects you. And that's why I put acting on the side for years because of that, because I would do it and I would audition, but I don't even think I was present during the majority of my teen years to my early 20s. Like, I was kind of just going through the motions. I'm like, well, this is what I do. I audition, so I shouldn't say no to this. Let me just do it. And it wasn't until like 2021 where I had this like wake up call. And I remember I was laying in bed with my boyfriend, and my dog had just passed away. And I just felt like we had just moved to Los Angeles again, and I was just lost. And he said something really important to me. He's like, you have to just choose something that feels right to you, because you're doing too many things right now, and you have to just focus in on something. And whatever it is, give that your all for a moment and see what happens. And after that conversation, I got back into acting class for the first time, like ever, really. And I was so inspired again. And that did change my process on getting auditions. Like, it didn't feel like a job anymore when I would get auditions. I got auditions like, this is my chance to figure out who I am as an actress and what could I bring to this character. And, I would sit on my couch when, I wasn't working, and I would watch like the round table talks on Vanity Fair and all of those interviews with all of my favorite actors and actresses. And I would be so inspired. You hear actors like that saying they have imposter syndrome. And I'm like, well, if they do, then I guess I can, you know? And it really changed everything for me, where I do try, and instead of just creating what I think somebody else wants to see or hear, I'm just like, well, what would I do? Because there's going to be thousands of people auditioning for this role, and I can bring myself into this role. And that's the kind of actor that I want to be right now. You know, eventually maybe I could veer off and do even more amazing things. But right now I want to find out who I am as an actor and what I bring to the table. Yeah. And again, another long answer to your question, but here we are.
Yeah, you know? But it's so important, because I found myself after having like different, and I wasn't in the audition game long. I had like started in the audition game, then I had a manager that came on, and I was auditioning for all of the best new pilots coming out, and then getting notes of like, he's too green and stuff like that. I was like, wait, like, you know, just trying to recalibrate and understand, and then started studying with my coach Aaron Spicer, and then I started really developing who I was as an artist. But I looked at the business, and I was like, wait, this just doesn't add up for me. Like, to only audition to then get a job that I have no control over, and it's 1 out of 3,000 every time. And you can build relationships with these casting directors. And you know, in the past, I've said some things like casting directors aren't the decision makers, and they are sometimes, but the final decision makers could be a producer that, or a writer or a director that their cousin or somebody, they just throw them in instead. And then I was like, wait a second, this just doesn't feel like a great business model. And now, as the writer's strike, and then SAG's going to strike, and Directors Guild's going to strike, and all of this, it's like, okay, well, there's a huge recalibration that's going to happen within the game, but I want to be in control. And I realized that, okay, acting is what I saw. I didn't realize the other things that I didn't know I was great at, because I saw actors, and I was like, I want to do that, and I was great at it. But I was like, what is it from a business standpoint? And then I was like, I need to start writing my own stuff and creating my own projects. And that was much more fulfilling to me. And I think it's equally as long of a road. But for me, it turned into something else of like, okay, let's create these other worlds, and let's build with other producers, or let's attach other talent and work with people we want to work with. And acting will come as like a byproduct of that. And maybe acting will be the most successful thing in my career. But I feel like you just have to be open to what's out there and understand what's out there versus what we see, and just go down this thing and like, I'm an actor, so I'm just only going to audition and do that.
Yeah. Like, why limit yourself?
Yeah.
There's too many opportunities to just pick, to just do one. And that leads me to like where I am right now. Yeah. I'm doing everything that I love to do. And that feels really good, because like, who says you can't do it all? Who says you can't do the things that feel right? Why do you have to box yourself into just one thing, you know? And I am an actress, and I take my auditions very seriously when I'm doing that. And I love to hear that you're writing, because that's something eventually, like, I would love to get into that world. I've been sitting on something for a long time that I want to take that step and like get it out. Yeah. So that's really inspiring to hear that, you know, you had that epiphany, because I believe actors they're creatives. They're storytellers. And whether they're acting out somebody else's story or writing their own, it's such an important part of the craft, is just telling stories. Yeah. And so if we're waiting for somebody to give us a story to tell, we're doing a disservice to ourselves, because we could write our own and tell that story.
And you do write.
I do.
Yeah. So having an idea to write is it because it's longer than a song or something? Because okay, amazing actor, like crazy amazing, but also brilliant singer. And then most recently, I realized how amazing of a songwriter you are as well. And hearing a lot of your stuff, and some people might know that you wrote Wrong Places.
Not Right Places.
No, yeah.
Wrong Places.
Yeah, she's writing Right Places. It's going to be volume 2.
That's the sequel. We talked about this before the podcast.
But wrote Wrong Places, which, you know, how many songs do you think you've written in your life?
Hundreds.
Yeah. So Wrong Places was on a show called Songland, and won her episode, and H.E.R did an amazing version of your song, and had massive success with this as well. So if you can write, and you know you can write, is it because it's a different format or formula, or is it because it's longer, it takes more, and maybe you haven't fully dove into that?
Yeah, I think with songwriting, there is some sort of structure that I'm more familiar with, and there's structure for writing for TV and film and all of that. I think it's the fear of the unknown for me, because even though I've read so many scripts, I've never sat down and started like page 1, like, you know, interior, like,
and you have to write something that sucks first.
Yeah,
Nobody goes in and writes something brilliant the first 100 pages or whatever you're writing, but it's got to suck first. So then you have to write something that sucks, and then you go back in and write, you know, the second and third draft, and it gets better.
Yeah.
So it's pretty daunting.
And
but
I think in writing like TV and film, you're writing from so many different perspectives. And in songwriting, you're wriing from your perspective, really, for the most part.
I'll follow this excuse. Yeah,
it's my excuse that I've worked up a long time. It took me, no, but, and it's something that like I love telling stories. And I realized after like Songland for the rest of 2020, and it released in the middle of COVID. So it felt like, you know, I got this incredible opportunity and I'm so grateful for it. But like, it felt like the door opened, but then slammed shut, because it's like, I couldn't go in the studio and work with her or Ryan Tedder because everyone was quarantined and we were on Zoom calls. So it was just like, what is going on? But, you know, through that, I did a lot of Zoom writing sessions, and I met so many amazing producers and songwriters. And, you know, I worked up more of a catalog than I had originally. And for a second, I was like, I'm a songwriter. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm not focusing on acting. I don't want to do the artist thing. I'm done being an artist. Like, don't want to do this. And I put blinders on and I tried to do that. And I very quickly realized this is not for me. I was doing like...
Not solely, or it was like...
Not solely that, because I don't think that I'm built that way as a songwriter. I think for me, songwriting comes from a very therapeutic, like storytelling, like passionate place. And I think it comes from that in a lot of songwriters, but they're more like machines. Like, they wake up and they're going in and they're doing this. And for me, I felt emotionally drained. Like, I was working with so many different people that I didn't know. And I'm very, very sensitive to other people's energies, I realize, especially in a situation like that, because you're putting your heart in your sleeve with people that you don't know. And I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I have no energy. I feel so sad because I feel like I'm judging myself and I'm comparing myself to everybody else. And when I write, I was used to writing by myself songs for so long because no one ever gave me the time of day as a songwriter. They were like, oh, you were a child actor and then you tried to sing for a second and now you're trying to songwrite. Like, you're not getting into any rooms. Until Songland happened and everyone's like, you have a cut with her? Oh my God. You know, that's just how this industry works, and cool, whatever, I'll play the game. But, you know, it was cool to try something different and try to, you know, think that was my path, but then find my way back to where I am now, because I needed to do that. I needed to take a little hiatus on everything else and think I was going to do something. And I think it not only, helped me grow as a person, but as an artist. Because I'm like, all right, well, I still have my deep love for acting, and I love songwriting, but I realized that I don't want to be a machine songwriter. I want to be a songwriter that tells my own stories. And I finally got the confidence again to like do an artist thing and start releasing music. And I met these two wonderful girls through COVID, and it was the first time I ever met anybody in this industry that got my sound the way that these girls got my sound. It was seamless. And I really believe timing is everything in any area of your life. And I met them for a reason, and we're working together now more than we ever have. And we're doing all of these Instagram fun videos, and it's so creatively like stimulating, and it's exciting. And you know, I'm doing a bunch of things in my life, but I like to describe it as controlled chaos, because I thrive when I'm busy. And if I have too much time on my hands and I'm sitting and I'm thinking, overthinking, I will think myself into a really dark place. And, you know, I want to be a businesswoman. I want to make this a business. And like we said before, like, who's to say you can't do it all? You know, there's a time for everything, but I want to take advantage of all of the gifts that God has given me, and I want to make a place in every area of my life for each one of them. And I don't want to just be like, oh, I should have done this or I could have done that. Like, I want to really express myself in different ways. So now I'm inspired to go like write like a pilot or something for the TV show that I want to write.
Once you do, it's like, oh, wait a second. This is, and it's an amazing process as well. And that's one thing for me. And I have some screenplays I've written or some scripts I've written that I'm okay with passing them off and having somebody direct or whatever. For me now, I realized through the process of writing something and then getting it picked up and then was going to just act in it, and not even just to say just act, had the opportunity to act, had some producers that believed in the project. My co-writer was going to direct, I was going to act in it, and then it falling through, and then having some other projects that I've directed and done short form stuff or whatever, and then having that, like, that drive and doing something brilliant, but then getting to the point where like, well, you're first time director, that kind of stuff. And it's been maybe the biggest blessing in my life, but also comes as a curse, mostly in other people's eyes, is that I know that I can do it best, and I will die on my own sword to make it happen. And I know there's certain projects that I'm like, I just can't. Future Mark can't see somebody else direct my project, and whether it's great or they ruin it, I can't see somebody else do my project. Yeah. There's some projects I'm like, yeah, fucking take it. I don't care. Yeah. Make that shit. Give me the check, whatever. Yeah.
That's your baby that you created.
And starting to write something in 2009 with a good friend of mine in Michigan, and then selling it in 2017, getting the rights back, rewriting it, all this stuff. And then now feeling like, based on everything I've done in business and with the digital format and the stuff that I've built here, I'm like, no, this is me. So now it's like, okay, now how do I build a team around me to ensure that when we go into a room, they know that I am the one for this, and then being able to also help people understand that I am the one for this as well, versus being like, well, let's put a director that has already had a success just to ensure that we can mitigate our risk. And like, I get that. No.
But that director had a first film that he directed one day, And that's why I hate that. I hate when people try and limit other people because of the experience. Because it's like, well, how am I supposed to get experience in something if nobody will give me a chance to show myself and prove myself?
So now I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, cool. Until I'm 99, and then I will sell it. But did you have any issues, or did you have a tough time writing Wrong Places and then giving it to someone and seeing them flourish with it? How was that? Was that a challenge, or was that pretty easy based on it being her, or like, what did that feel like?
Because it was her, absolutely not. I was like, please.
Oh, really?
Please
really?
Take
Amazing.
it. Like, I think that sometimes, I've been in positions where I'd write something and I'd have people that I know in the industry and be like, hey, I'm like developing this artist. I would love for, I'm like, if I don't believe in it, if I hear it and I'm just like, not for me, I don't want to give something that is a part of me to something else that like I want to do, because it's like, well, why not me? Like, why them and not me? Like, I'm going to choose me. If you don't choose me, that's fine, but I'm going to choose me, and I'm going to keep something that's really special to me and make it my own. But I think there's also a balance, because like, you don't want to lose opportunity either. And you have to be open-minded.
And that could be a stepping stone.
Yeah, you can't be stingy. You can't be too stingy. Like, there's certain things that you have to draw the line on and be like, no, this is how I feel.
Because that line you draw could be the decision maker to give them the confidence to give you the first shot.
Absolutely.
And that could, because it's a whole thing where I like, well, maybe I should just fucking sell one of these things and get the
I can get paid. I can get, I can get my name out there, so there has to be that balance. But when it comes to Wrong Places, no, like when I found out, because when I got called for Songland and I flew out, I didn't even know who the artist was until I was in New York and Long Island. My mother actually sent my songs into Songland because I did not want to do Songland.
What did she send? Wrong Places and what else?
She sent like maybe 6 or 7 songs in. And because she was talking to me about, she's like, there's this new show and I think you should do it because it's songwriting and you're such a good songwriter. And I'm like, Mom, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do another like reality show. I'm scared. I don't want to do that. And so she sent my songs into the casting because it's the same casting as The Voice, and she still had their contacts,
season 1,
which I did on season 1.
And do you feel like, based on your current state of mind before, like, as your mom was sending those in, that maybe you had some like reservations based on season 1 of The Voice, that you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this again?
Yeah, because I feel
it's
like
cool, but
you put yourself out there on a show like that and you have zero control on how you're portrayed. They take snippets of what you say and they turn it into something else, or they hone in on one part of you and make that the only part of you. And you know,
what did the voice make you out as? I forget.
I mean, they definitely honed in on the fact that they said I was the youngest contestant on the show, but I actually wasn't. There was another contestant.
Did they bring Jersey Girl into it?
I think they brought Jersey Girl into it. I'm pretty sure they found like some YouTube videos that I did, and it was a great experience. Don't get me wrong, but it was my first experience ever entering the music industry. And I didn't get to choose a song I sang on that show. And that was really hard for me because...
What did you sing?
I sang... Well, they almost had me sing Material Girls by Madonna. And I was like,
acoustic version of them?
I have no idea. Like, I'm like, listen, love you, Madonna, but like, I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill and Frank Sinatra and Billie Holiday, and like, you know, just that's not my vibe. And I knew that even at 16. Then they gave me Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis, which was, you know, it was good. And I sang that. I had the biggest stage fright. I don't want anyone to ever watch my episode because my voice was shaking.
Well, we got it right here.
No, but like, I mean, I was so nervous and I had no training, and it was my first time singing in front of like a group of people, let alone like Christina Aguilera was standing right.
And there was big hype around The Voice. I remember like a lot of my great singer friends were like, oh, there's this new show, because it was only American Idol was the only show at the time.
Yeah.
Carson Daly's hosting, and like certain people were getting like, hey, come in and audition. And the other people had to go through the long last line and stuff.
I was I was one of the people where they found my YouTube, and
Rightfully so. You should have been.
I had a friend
lines.
who knew the producers and was like, listen to this girl. And so I did a Zoom call, and after the Zoom call that Friday, they like sent paperwork. And that Monday I was like out to LA, and I was with my mom. I was 16, and we were there for like 2.5 months, and we got our phones taken away. It was this whole, we didn't know what was going on. We were the guinea pigs. And but
phones taken away, like
because of like the NDAs that you had to sign. You can't post anything, and
it was new then too.
It was new, and so what an incredible experience. I was around so many talented people for the first time ever, really, because I'm from Long Island, New York, and especially at that time, there wasn't a lot of people like doing music or in the industry at all. And so I wasn't ever surrounded by that. But because of The Voice, like I didn't like the fact that I was put out there and I had zero control on anything. And, you know, I was scared that would happen again with Songland, because I'm like, well, songwriting is even more intimate, because now I'm like, not only am I singing in front of people, now I'm sharing a song that I wrote.
Yeah, like an experience or a part of you.
Yeah.
Was there any flashbacks or anything, like, because the setup was kind of similar in a way, right?
Yes, it was a little more intimate on Songland, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
So did it feel like a different experience, or did it feel like here we are?
Very
again?
much so.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with the experience on Songland, because there's something different about working with songwriters too, as opposed to just like other singers, artists, because I don't think there's that like level of competition, you know, like, yeah, of course everyone wants their song to be chosen, and it's hard, but I don't know, the egos weren't as big as I've experienced in other situations with artists. So it was a little more, you know, friendly, and it was a very pleasant experience. And I got to work with Ryan Tedder, who is like a legend. Yeah. And it was a really, really cool moment. And I have to say, I'm very proud of myself, because on that show, a lot of people bring their songs on and they get completely changed and ripped apart. And they end up being great songs, too. But Wrong Places didn't get changed. I think we changed like one word, and then we just produced it. Yeah. And I had like producers say to me, like, that's the first time they ever did that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that as a W, because I don't do that a lot. But like, I was really, really, happy with that turnout, and the fact that it was her was like, oh my God, I got to work with so many amazing people in my career. Like Jennifer Lopez, for instance, is one of my biggest inspirations just as a businesswoman, and she's from New York, she's Puerto Rican. Like I grew up just like loving her, and still do to this day. And I got to work with her at 7. And then Christina Aguilera was a vocalist that I loved. I was Britney and Christina, I was a Christina fan. Sorry, but I was. And I got to work with her at 16 years old. And then, fast forward to, 2020, I got to work with one of my favorite R&B artists, and that's her. And I've just been really lucky and blessed.
Yeah, that feels like that feels like that. And for me, like the confirmation, like literally the people at the height of all of these different arenas of creative, and you holding your own and literally all of them. That's unheard of. That's why I open up with like, yo, you're one of the most talented people that I've ever met, and like literally can just crush it in whatever you're doing. So that's what's so interesting for me. And I want people that are listening to like you still question your abilities sometimes. And as you grow to learn, and as we all do, you got to be human, right? That was one of my favorite quotes. I forget who told me that. And I say it very often, is like, listen, you got to be human, it's part of the game. Right. But, do you think was Wrong Places, in your opinion, walking into that show and Songland, was that the best song you had in your pocket? Did you think that was the one that was going to go?
At that time, no, I didn't, because it was such a simple song. It was just like, and it was a quick song. I wrote that in my bedroom in 2019. I was living, with a friend out in Los Angeles, and it happened in like 30 minutes. I wrote that song.
Really?
And so it was something that like, it was too simple for me to think that was what was going to go. Like I had maybe like 2 other ideas of what I thought at that time would have been the contender. But then once I found out that H.E.R was the artist when I got to LA, I was like, oh, it makes sense why they chose this song. I get it. And then I started backtracking. I'm like, I was listening to H.E.R during the time that I wrote this. Like I loved her EP, and I had that on replay for all of 2019. And so I'm just like, that's super weird. Like I got like, kind of like, it was an eerie feeling in a good way, because I'm like, what a weird, like, moment to have.
Thanks, universe.
Seriously, thanks, universe. And I really believe, like, again, I'm very spiritual. I believe in the universe. I believe in God. I believe in energy. I believe in, positive thinking and attracting things by, your I believe in all of that, because I've just had so many situations in my life that I'm like, there's no way I could not believe that. But yeah, at that time, my father loved Wrong Places, and I just like, I loved it, I did, but I just never, it didn't click for me. I just, sometimes what you think isn't it.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really cool too, because I feel like we don't know at the end of the day. Like we could think that we have all of the control in the world, and we know what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's not. But sometimes the universe just is like, oh, I have a different plan for you.
Yeah.
And it just shows itself.
Or us standing in our own way. I was talking to somebody earlier. They were deciding on what side of the table they were going to sit on for one of our podcasts that we're producing. And there's some kind of statistic that's like 85% of people favor the left side. And it doesn't matter. No one has a real good side. I remember somebody, for me, in my life, somebody said like, oh, I love this picture of you as my right side. I was like, I don't like that picture. Then I realized I don't have my best interest.
Yeah.
I see different things. I'm zooming in on stuff, and we do that all the time. We live on all these social media platforms. And luckily, this was like 2013. I was like, oh, I don't have my best interest. My mind is not able to compute. I don't care anymore. No matter what the picture, if people like it or they don't like it, I'm like, that's just me. That's me. That's how I look.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because we see ourselves in different eyes. I wish sometimes I could see. I'm always curious on like how people perceive me, and not in like a weird way, but I'm just kind of like, well, I know who I am, and I know what I feel and what I think in conversations, but I would love to know what other people see and how they feel towards me when they meet me. Sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, she's too bubbly, and like, oh my God, like, and then other time, and I'm like, listen, that's just who I am. Like, you'll know if I don't like you. I'm from New York. Yeah. Like, I'm very, very blunt. It's hard for me to hide my emotions, but I think because I'm such, I hold so many emotions in myself that like, I like to just give it all to people until you give me a reason not to, because then that's where the Scorpio comes in, and I'm like, oh, you crossed that line, okay, like, say less. But we see ourselves differently than everyone else, and sometimes we need to just take a step back.
Absolutely. Do you feel like so writing Wrong Places, and then what did you learn that process to where it is now? Like, because like seeing Ryan Tedder and the whole crew and all of that, and being able, like, I would love to see music how he sees it. It's so like, oh my goodness,
he's
it's
a genius.
Fucking brilliant. So you of course, probably loved where it was. Was it tough to transition to what it became, or were you like, oh my gosh, that's so like it all makes sense how you're changing things to make it what it needs to be? What was that process like?
I loved it. I mean, just being in a room with someone like H.E.R, I was just like, he knows it. He's done it. He's proved himself, and I trust everything that he's doing. Like, I was kind of just like in awe in my experience with him, and I'll never forget one of the best compliments that I've ever received ever was from him. It was off camera. And it was during a sound check before we were filming. And
before you were filming, what part of the show?
The second round. So after
you'd already sang your song.
Sang my song, we produced it. And I was a little bummed because I didn't have the intimate time that I wanted with Ryan on the show because, again, they didn't change much in our song. And you're also filming, like they're filming like 3 episodes at a time for Songland. So they're all over the place. But like I got the chance to go to H.E.R.'s house in West Hollywood to work on the song and re-record the vocals and work on the production. And I thought he was going to be there, and he wasn't. And I was really, really bummed about it.
It was like a H.E.R robot or something?
No, I was with his like producer that he has signed with him. And it was great. I had so much fun. And I was still very grateful for the opportunity. But like, I wanted that time with him. I wanted to ask him questions, and I wanted to like have that one-on-one, and I didn't get that. But the next day when we did the sound check, you know, he said to me, he was like, hey, I wasn't there because I didn't need to be there. And because you had taken this song already to its level, and I just needed to come in and do the other things, you know, and I was in the other room, but I have to say, he's like, I went on a run yesterday, like the 30 minutes that I had to myself, I played Wrong Places on repeat the entire time. And I'm so impressed by you. And I like, that is something that, not that I try not to look for validation in other people, but sometimes you need that, especially in this industry, because you put so much of yourself out there and you put so much work and you do self-tapes in on the acting side of things, and you put it out into the universe for the casting directors and the producers and you don't know if anyone's watching it. And
you don't realize what the emotional response they get from it. It just becomes if like, is she right for the part? Yeah. Oh yeah, we were looking for somebody this or that. It's just, or like the director's point of view. It doesn't mean you suck.
Yeah, you don't hear anything. So it leaves it up to your imagination to be like,
and our imagination will do it.
I'm terrible. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this. But to have somebody that has had so much success under his belt say something like that to you, if I didn't even win the show and if H.E.R didn't choose, that was like, whoa.
You're like, I'm so glad you weren't there.
I didn't know how much I needed that. And it really took me from a place where I was, again, ready to give up everything in the industry and move into hospitality full time and be like, I'm done. I'm not meant for this industry. And it was that turning point for me where I was like, oh no, I'm just getting started.
Yeah. If you were ever to be like, to say, no, I'm out of this, I'd be like, all right, close it down. Everybody just, Hollywood's over. Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, but you know, we all have those low moments, and I definitely was at that before I did Songland.
Yeah. What was your backup song that you feel like if it wasn't Wrong Places, what do you think it would have been?
I mean, I wrote a song called Glass in a Plastic World that I still have, and I thought that
Glass in a Plastic World.
Yeah, I wrote that after going to Justin Bieber's 22nd birthday party. In oh my God, this was 2016, I think. March of 2016. And I went to his birthday party and I saw all these famous people. I saw like the Kardashians and I saw like Jonas people and like just everyone. And I was like, and I went by myself. A friend invited me, so I knew him there, but I was just kind of like a fly on the wall and looking at everything. And I was just like, I don't know, like I don't fit in here. Like I feel really out of place. And that song came from a place where I wanted to be glass in a plastic world. And that's what it's about, you know, just kind of being that real, authentic person in a world that is so superficial. And I thought that like lyrically to this day, like, I don't know, I might put it out eventually and just, you know, re-envision it. But that was something that I was like, oh, maybe it could be that. But I didn't know who it was for. So I had no idea what to expect.
So what would you say the chorus sounds like?
You put me on the spot after I'm drinking some wine. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to have to re-envision it, and then I'll drop it on Spotify, send you the link.
Okay, yeah, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, you put it in the description for like little clickbait.
Got you.
But the lyrics, it's like glass in a plastic world. I mean, if I say it, it's going to sound weird. It's like your shallow ass won't last. Like you can't buy love with your diamonds and pearls, like something like that. And it was just kind of like, you can't, at least for me, you can't impress me with all of like the fake bullshit because I'm I'm too real for that shit.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah. We'll start the intro with the whole thing, like leading up to like, what would you think it sounds like? You're gonna put me on the spot, and then we'll get to the end of the podcast. And it's like
go to
Spotify.
the studio tonight and just redo it and be like, here
We got
it
time.
is.
It's Friday. This will be out a week from tomorrow, so we got time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. You never know what could happen. There, is that the beat?
That was not on time. If there's anything I'm horrible at, it's timing. I used to when I play guitar.
like,
You know that? You know that?
Yeah.
When I would play guitar, we would like, I wrote my first like batch of songs. We went in the studio and I started trying to play to a click track, and I was like, no, like metronome, I can't do it. I just like bring somebody else in. There's,
Mark and I will
time is a
try.
bitch.
Mark and I will try to harmonize, and he
yeah.
just can't.
I can harmonize, but
You guys
I have a
could be
small
like
box.
the TikTok couple, like doing covers together.
We're working on it.
No.
We're trying to be Dan and Shay, and he just can't be.
You are not shaying correctly.
Listen, I can harmonize, but I can harmonize my own voice in like a certain key. That's it.
He's like, only myself in the shower.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I get it though.
Yeah.
And she's like,
I'm like,
It's a work in progress.
yeah, we're working on it. Oh my goodness. Wow. What a journey so far. And I can't wait to see what this next chapter brings for you. It's always been super impressed by everything you're doing. And it's always been obvious to me. And that's what's so interesting about life in this business, and why I wanted to do and have conversations like this is like, let's dive deep inside your mind and hear about the ups and downs, because so many people see from the outside and they just say, oh my God, it must be easy and perfect and all this stuff. It's like,
You must be rich.
Yeah. But so many great things coming your way, and I can't wait till we can collaborate on something too. I know, we have a couple, one thing in particular that I would love seeing us collaborate on, and just to see what's next for you. So it's super exciting to watch, and I can't wait. What are you most excited about in the future?
I mean, to do a little recap, I'm definitely very much focused on acting. I know we're going through a writer's strike right now, so it's very slow. But that being said, I actually just started going to school for esthetician like stuff. I want to be a licensed esthetician and study skincare and kind of just have that in my back pocket. And that's like the business aspect of like what I want to bring into my life, and just have something there. And you know what? If I make it big, and as an actor or a singer, like I want to open up my own skincare company and do that. It's something I'm very passionate about. Yeah. So it was kind of just in time for the writer's strike, because it's been very slow on the acting side of things. And then music, I've been working on a lot of original music that it has been released and will be, continuing to be released with the Wild Cards, my producers, who I love very much. I'm managing my little Layla and Selmo. She's been doing great. And next week, I wanted to bring it up to you. I'm actually flying to New Jersey because Kevin Smith, the director of Jersey Girl, reached out to me, and they're re-releasing Jersey Girl. Wow. Now that Jen and Ben are back together, there's so many deleted scenes of them, from the original script that Kevin wrote, and he's re-releasing that in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, where he's from. So I'm going to go next week to do that, and we're going to do a Q&A, and it's going to be the first time that I've ever seen this version of Jersey Girl. There's a scene with me and Jen that no one really has seen before, including myself. Wow. So I'm very excited about that, and it feels like my life has just kind of made a full circle moment. And I feel like this upcoming year is going to be really, really transitional and very important for my life.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. Wasn't there a documentary or something too?
Yeah, I was in that for Kevin. Yeah. After he had his heart attack, like he did a whole...
I think I might have seen him speak. He was at Sundance, right? Did you go that year? Or I think we were talking about if you were going to be there or not.
Because he did the premiere for Clerks, which was, I think that's what the documentary was called. I know he has Clerks, but no, I didn't go to that. But yeah, he invited me to be a part of that as well. And they interviewed me. They came to Long Island and did that whole interview. And I'm so grateful for somebody like him that, throughout the years, he's kind of always peaked in times like that. And that's been really,
such a unique talent too. And like does his thing.
Yeah, he is unapologetically him, and he just talked on People TV about mental health, and that was something that was really, really huge for me to see. He sent me that when we just had this discussion last week, and it's just it's crazy to see somebody that is so funny and so talented and successful and all of these amazing things struggle mentally, and because you look as a human and as an outsider, you look at them as one version of what they portray and what they show,
and what we view as success.
Absolutely. Too. And then to see that even people like that go through that, and it's so crazy that they could hide it so well. And I thanked Kevin for posting something like that, because we get so caught up in what we think other people are based on what we see, but we don't see the full picture. And I think that more people in his position should shine light on the reality of themselves and their stories and their position. And I was really, really inspired by that, because we're humans at the end of the day. No matter how successful you are, we all have our demons and we all go through things. And that's why I like having honest conversations like this, because it shows the good and the bad, all sides, the real sides.
Yeah, and eventually, I think as like a human race, will understand that only making millions of dollars and maybe having a success is not what success actually means. No. It really just does mean waking up and loving where you are and being happy when you wake up, and I think the more people that shed light on that, and the more people that are just authentic, as we talked about before, like even jumping on this podcast, I overshare way too much sometimes, but I'd rather overshare and be honest and truthful and let people understand the dark side of it, so they know what they're getting into, versus just going into something blind, or going into something and thinking that it's something that it isn't. Because I think that's a big reason why a lot of people move to LA and they're like there's no real people here. It's like, well, where are you meeting the people at?
Yeah.
Because there are, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you meeting the people at?
I'm real. No.
I'm real. Touch me.
And you set unrealistic expectations. And that's something that I think, like, especially the younger generation struggles from, because, like anxiety, depression, everything stems around, in today's world, a lot of it stems around comparing yourselves to other people. And it's sad that people are comparing themselves to versions of people that aren't even real. And that's really
what we
sick.
See.
Yeah.
It's like, would you say that somebody that comes to LA that doesn't like the people they meet, that they're looking for, friends in all the wrong places?
Looking for friends in all the wrong places. Maybe that's the sequel.
The sequel. I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this. So great catching up with you, and can't wait to see everything that's next. Tell everybody where to find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram mainly. Right now, my username is Raquel Castro.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. But mainly on Instagram, and then Twitter is Raquel Castro. And I'm trying to think of TikTok. It's Raquel Castro. I think I just changed my username to that. So nice. I'm trying to be on all of the forums, but you can find me on Instagram, and that's okay. I share everything there.
Nowhere we don't. Rocky is nowhere.
You know what? I was thinking about changing my name to Rocky that's my nick. Kevin Smith gave me that nickname when I was 7.
Yeah, it's a dope name.
Thank you. It feels like me, and maybe she'll come out. Maybe that's like my alter ego that's going to come out in this next chapter.
I support that. I support that. Awesome. Well, thanks
so
much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. And so please go follow her journey and see all the amazing things that she's doing, that she's done, and that she's about to embark on. You can find me, Mark Rodriguez TV, everywhere, and us at Mastermynd Media. And that's the Rodriguez Project for today.
Amazing.
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.